JMT is so privileged to have someone who I have myself looked up to for many years. I always describe myself as a double geek. I am one of those people that absolutely loves accounting. I love accounting. I am also one of those people that loves technology and bringing those two things together. And so I follow technology. I'm like obsessed with it and what it can do for accounting. Our Keynote is such an innovator. He is such a visionary. And I am always so appreciative of what he shares and his openness to share. I'm very, very proud to introduce Erin Harris, who is the Chief Technology Officer for Sage, who is going to share with you a wonderful presentation and information that I have gotten a sneak peek at, and I can't wait to see it again. Erin.
All I can do is let you down now. Thanks, Jackie. I've been working with, how long have we been working together? It's got to be 15 years. Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, the thing that gives me energy in my job is working with people like Jackie, who have built businesses, in many ways committed to my baby. I was part of the founding team at Intact, going back more years than I'm going to say. On stage, it's been a little bit, and throughout all of those years, I give a lot of these presentations where I talk about how technology is going to impact the future of accounting and finance, and I try to look out a few years, and I try to be a bit provocative. About 7 years ago, and Jackie will have been in the audience, AI was starting to heat up, and I felt it was really important for me to establish a vision for AI and what we were going to do with AI to drive the industry forward. And when I do these things, I do try to get provocative a bit because I want people to get excited and energized, and I want the press and the media to ask questions and generate some conversation. And so what I said 7 years ago is that I want to use AI to eliminate the monthly close. I don't want to do continuous close. I want to get rid of the thing. 7 years ago, when I said something like that, there were crickets in the room. It did not land the way I wanted it to. People were questioning whether I'm the right person to lead technology for an accounting software company. This is something that has been part of the institution of accounting for centuries. So I decided that this year, as I talk about technology and its impact, and AI is really heating up now, I wanted to go back to this notion that we can eliminate the monthly close. So I've got this brilliant woman who works on my team, and I got to say, this is one of the privileges of my job, is just working with some really, really amazing people. This woman has multiple degrees from Cambridge, and she speaks with a British accent, so she sounds even smarter. But her background is cyber security and government policy. She doesn't have a background in accounting. But I told her, this year, I want to have fun with a close when I start my presentations on AI. And so I said, go away, spend a couple days, see if you can find something fun for us to talk about to get the audience really into this conversation about the close. She comes back 2 days later. We get on a video call. She looks very, very down, and she says to me, Erin, I'm so sorry. I can't find anything fun about the close. So I've been wondering, how long have we not been having fun with the close? Well, it turns out it goes back quite a ways. We can go into the archives here and discover some early writing about the financial close. This is a textbook from 1900, Accounting in Theory and Practice. I cruise through these and find some great quotes. So here's a conversation about the trial balance back in 1900, talking about totaling the debits and the credits. And in this case, it also talks about the possibility that they may not match back in 1900. If you go back a little bit more, this one was about 50 years earlier to that, single and double entry, and for some reason they felt it was really important to have a special case for steamboats. So back in the days of accounting for steamboats, we did the monthly close, and there's a really good call out in this one. The first time I think I've seen that accountants actually had to sign the close in red ink. I don't know why red. I guess it's harder to imitate red ink, I guess. Well, it goes back further, all the way back to 1494. There's a gentleman named Luca Pacioli, and I will tell you that when I launched our AI vision 7 years ago, I ignored marketing and their better judgment, and I wanted to name our AI Pacioli, because like Jackie, I love accounting, and this is like my spirit animal, Mr. Pacioli here. And so this text is in Latin, but if you go through the Latin text, you will actually see Luca Pacioli talking about a monthly close. Now, you're just going to have to trust me that Latin talks about the monthly close. So seriously, why do we care about getting rid of the monthly close? So for most organizations, it takes about 25% of your time. And we do a study every single year on this. It's called the Close the Month Survey. We survey thousands of CFOs and finance leaders globally, and 25%. And the number's not actually budging that much. I mean, companies make progress, but in the whole, it's really not making as much progress as we would like. And the reasons are probably pretty obvious to all of you. There's still way too much manual data entry. Your systems aren't integrated. You're constantly chasing employees to approve things, submit things, review things, tell you how much to accrue on a purchase order. So you're constantly waiting for other people in the business. And even while all this is going on, the regulations that you all have to live by are evolving. The personal implications of making mistakes are increasing. And it's really not just the labor, it's the anxiety that comes around with the monthly close. And I love this quote here, and it really gets to the heart of what we want to do for you. And it's really solving this problem. So this is a finance leader for a family services office. And she put it up really simply. The month end becomes something you do, not something that you review, right? In other words, the expectation out there is that automation will be doing everything that needs to get done on the month end, and the human's job will simply be to review. So this 25% is expensive. It takes time. It's not fun. Nobody likes it. But it's really more than that. What could you do to progress your mission if you had that 25% back? And what could you do to progress your mission if you had better insights into your results earlier than you normally do? That 25% is like 7 to 14 days after the month is ended that most businesses get their close done. So what could you do? So we've got this customer called CB Insights. In my world, they're sort of like a rock star customer to me because I use their research and their analysis, and so I was super jazzed when they became a customer. This is an organization founded back in 2008. They essentially look very narrowly at the world of technology and funding, and they do all these reports that I read. They're kind of the industry standard. They've been a customer for about a year now. By the way, part of the reason why I love this company is the way the founder finishes his weekly newsletter. Like, that's some guts. I mean, talk about like endearing yourself to your customers, telling them that you love them at the end of your emails. Pretty fantastic. So when they became an Intact customer, they had a 60-day soft close. It took them 2 months to close the books, but they were never actually able to close revenue. They just never could close revenue. It was really just closing the expense side out of the book. So they worked really, really diligently on their implementation to get this down. They got it down to a 3-day hard close, and they decided to focus all their energy on cash, right, and on collecting cash. So they got their day sales outstanding down by 10 days. They were able to then, with all this confidence, build out a cash flow forecast that they could rely on for 13 weeks. And the fundamental result really was confidence. Like confidence that the business could make decisions on, can I hire this next employee? Can I make this investment into this new project? Is it time for me to expand into this new region? Without visibility, there's no confidence to make decisions like that. And in this case, it's not quite the same as in the nonprofit world, but they were able to launch a new product simply because they had more cash and they had more confidence in their decision making. And so imagine, the corollary to this room is launching a new project, right? Something more that you could do, advancing your mission. And this is not unusual. It's really pretty standard across all businesses when they evaluate technology, accounting technology. Almost universally, the number one aim is, can we please get the close down from whatever many weeks or days it is to something more valuable. So, if you go through our customer stories, we've got like 300 of these customer stories in the database that we make available to our sales reps. And I thought I'd have to scour through them to find examples of what beyond just saving time, getting the close down would mean for the business. And the reality is every single one of them, right? I just had to stop at some point because every customer story that I went through talked about the gain that it brought to their business by getting the close down. So this is a super, super valuable thing. And 7 years later, with generative AI now really accelerating our ability to do this, our vision hasn't changed, right? It is still exactly the same. We want to eliminate the monthly close. There's a few other pieces that go with that. And so this is what I've been talking about for years, this idea that we can get rid of all these cycles. Not only do you have the monthly close, you've got the annual audit, you probably have quarterly reporting that you have to do, whether it's for government or for other regulatory bodies. If you have inventory, you do your cycle counts, right? You live day to day on these cycles. And these cycles take up time. They only provide point-in-time visibility, point-in-time assurance, right? You get audited on an infrequent basis. And what would it be like if we could actually get rid of all those cycles and enable you to do your accounting continuously, where we capture all economic or business activity in real time, and we account for it in real time? If we could pair that with continuous assurance, where not only do you now have real-time visibility into the performance of your organization, you've also got the assurance and the confidence that the numbers that you're making decisions against are real, they're true, they're accurate, and they're within the controls and the policies of your organization. And if we can give you real-time trusted information, we can give you continuous insights. All right, we can now turn our attention. You've turned your attention. You've made time available to work on more strategic things. We can focus technology on helping you to unearth more insights, to make more decisions, to take advantage of more opportunities, to stave off risks that you couldn't see because you got the books closed too late. So this is, on a single slide, what our vision is for AI. It's to transform all these cycles into continuous activity. The way we're doing that is with two big bets. The one is obvious, AI. AI is the technology that is going to drive the acceleration towards this vision. The Sage Network, I won't talk as much about today, but you'll see some examples of why that's important. AI isn't the end-all, be-all. AI, in a lot of cases, is just automating the work that humans are doing manually. It just does it faster. What you really want is businesses that are connected to each other digitally, so you don't need the AI, right? So that there's e-invoicing and direct payments, et cetera. So these are the two big bets. So I'm going to talk a lot about how we build AI and how our AI drives this future that I'm talking about. But I need to spend just a minute doing like a 30-second masterclass with you on AI, if you don't mind. We talk about AI and ML often together, but nobody really explains what the ML part is and why do we talk about AI and ML together. So let me talk about how we build AI. The way we build AI is through machine learning. Okay, so machine learning is the process of building artificial intelligence. And just think of this as 4 steps. So the first step is building a model. We call these machine learning models. Think of them as a digital replica of a brain. And really, the original breakthrough that led to machine learning was actually bringing a biologist, into the tent with the mathematicians and unearthing this idea that if you can digitally replicate the way the brain works, you can create a way to train technology, right? And so that's the first step. is designing that digital brain, if you will, that is able to make human-like decisions. The second step is we have data scientists that not only design that brain, but they go in and they learn what's the best data to train that brain to be effective. So how do I get the right data sets? How do I structure the data? And of course, they're concerned with things like bias, right? But there's all these factors that go into deciding where's the data, what's the data, how do I use the data to train this digital model to make these decisions. And then we have AI engineers who build what I call factories to train these models, right? So they're not writing code that does logic in an application anymore. They're literally writing code that trains AI to do its job. And then beyond that, they're writing code to host that AI to do its job and to collect feedback from humans. And so the loop is pretty straightforward. We design a model, we train the model, we deploy the model, humans use the model and provide feedback. So you correct a mistake that AI made. That goes back into the system, and the models get smarter and smarter and smarter. So that's kind of a baseline understanding, I think, for what I want to talk about for the rest of the time with you. So we're going to break down the 3 into 3. So with continuous accounting, we break that down into continuous capture. So capture all the data in real time. Account, so this is accounting for the business activity, and that's, think of that as your financial reporting. And then allocate, think of that as your management reporting, right? How do you allocate the results of the business across your organization? So these are the 3 areas, and I'm going to give you some examples of what we're doing to really push this forward. And one of my favorites is using AI to process vendor invoices. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. We've got thousands of customers that are now doing this. But when we started building this AI to read data off of invoices, I really challenged our AI team. This technology's been around for a while. Why are we not just using off-the-shelf OCR? Why are we not just using some service from Amazon or Azure that can do this? And the answer from the team is pretty straightforward. For the needs of accounting and finance, that AI is not accurate enough. It misses key information that's needed for accounting workflows, and it doesn't understand accounting, right? So it lacks any context with which to really do the job. And so the result really is about 77% accuracy we find with these off-the-shelf solutions, and that's only for the data that they can find. And so what we do at Sage is we start with basic models, and then we look at the hard accounting and finance problems. So we've built 24 different digital brains, if you will, these models that we apply to reading data and categorizing data from an invoice. There's 6 or 7 models that do nothing but try to identify who the vendor is. There's models for understanding the structure of the line items, for finding hard to find values. So it turns out that total is really hard to find on an invoice because it often doesn't have a label. It's often just the bottom of a column, right? So we have AI models that just look for the total. We have to understand what currency an invoice is in or what locale it's in for tax purposes. We have models just for that. But we also have models that are trained just for each individual organization. So we have models that understand your chart of accounts and how to categorize the expenses or the purchases on an invoice. And the result of this is that we've got tens of thousands of these digital brains that we are running today to support the process of reading and categorizing data off of an invoice. And because of the scale of that and the way we do this, we're able to get really impressive accuracy numbers. Now, I'm not reporting this the same way as I did the 77%, but imagine that for about 68% of the invoices that we process, they're 100% accurate. And the reason why we know that is there's no feedback from the human. They're not changing or adding anything beyond what the AI did. Part of the way we're able to do that is through some of the patents and the inventions that we're doing. We've got this thing we call digital fingerprinting, where if you think about a human fingerprint, we're essentially taking information that we learn about a vendor, such as the format of their invoices, and we're building this digital fingerprint that enables us to then, when we see invoices come in, see if they match. And if they do match, we're able to create really, really fine-tuned, highly accurate models that increase the accuracy far above that 77% to nearly 100% accuracy for these. And this is the power of the Sage network. So as soon as we see 3 of you working with the same vendor, we can now optimize our AI just for that vendor, right? So if there are 2 of you using the vendor, you need to tell your friends, right? So that they get on there, and now the AI is going to get much smarter. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's true, right? This is what we call scale network effects. The more of you that we get using the solution, the more accurate we're able to get by learning across all of you the way you interact with your vendors. So that's an example of how we're using AI on continuous accounting. Let's talk about continuous assurance. And the way we break that down, I'm stuck on 3s, as you can see. It just makes for great storytelling. We break continuous assurance down into detect, reconcile, and review, right? So technology that continuously detects issues or potential anomalies, risks that are happening in the business. Technology that automates reconciliation. I mean, that's a huge part of assurance, is reconciling your cash, reconciling your vendor statements, right? So any technology that can help with reconciliation. And then review. You know, this gets back to that premise. We want you reviewing, not doing. So when you do the reviewing, we want to use technology to help you make more confident decisions. So again, getting back to this digital fingerprinting, so imagine that we've got these fingerprints. We've got them for about 40,000 vendors now from all the customers that are using this capability. Once we have those digital fingerprints, now think about assurance. If we get an invoice purporting to be from one of these 40,000, but the fingerprint doesn't match, well, that's a pretty big red flag. Right? We've got information about, well, how do they actually ask their customers to pay them? What's the remittance information? Did this come from an email address that we know is associated with this vendor? Right? So we use that same technology not only to automate, but also to assure, right? To find potential problems. One of the big things we're doing with AI is PO line level matching. That was a sexy statement. PO, sorry. I forgot that was in there. So this is another example of where I really challenged the team. Why are we using AI for this? Isn't it just rules? And these are really smart. We've got like 20 PhD data scientists that work on problems like this. And it turns out that there are so many rules and so many approaches that teams take to matching purchase orders to invoices that it would be impossible to capture them all in traditional technology, in traditional code. So they have to train AI to think like a human in the way that it does the matching. But it's a great example of how we're using AI in assurance, right? So to detect problems with potential fraud with vendors, but also the reconciliation of a purchase order and a receipt versus an invoice. So our vision is really to get AI into every one of our products, to make it a pervasive experience in our products. For the most part, we want that AI to be a bit in the background, to not be something that you're confronted with. We want to be transparent. We want you to know that AI is doing work, and we want to make sure that you know that you're always in control. But for the most part, the AI that we build, you should not have to know how to run the AI, right? You should not have to know how to configure the system to use AI. It's going to be there, and that's our job to make it work. So we've got this vision that we're going to make that work in every one of our products. And so the question is, why are we confident that we can do that? So the first part is that we started 7 years ago. So when I laid out that vision 7 years ago, this was just after Intact was acquired by Sage. The CEO, this was before I became the CTO of Sage, he asked me to take on the AI team. That was like 3 people at the time. But he gave me, I don't want to say a blank check, but he allowed me a really, really wide berth in building that team and hiring the people that I wanted to hire, and not expecting immediate financial results from the team that I built. And so we really built this world-class team. We've got, as I said, 20 PhD data scientists now that in various places around the world that are really doing amazing things. The rate of patent applications within Sage, we filed more patents in the last 2 years than we did in the entire history of the company. And half of those patents were all around generative AI, right? All about the advances in AI. So we've got this team that's doing amazing work that are super well prepared for the acceleration of AI right now. The second is that we're pretty smart about how we spend our money. We do have a big team. We've got probably 100 people in the core AI team and another 100 spread around the business. But we're not going to go out and build the big models that OpenAI is building and that Google is building. That's a waste of money for us. It's a waste of time for us. We can use those models relatively inexpensively. We're applying our research to the tough problems. How do I determine what the total is on an invoice? Not, again, terribly sexy. But by the way, the data scientists love working on accounting data, right? I mean, these are like academics from the highest tiers. They love working on this data because it's so well structured. It's already runs through processes, so it's high quality, highly accurate data. They just love working on this stuff. So we're very focused in how we spend our money and our time. And then the last is we have been doing it for 7 years. We've got tens of thousands of models that we've deployed. We're making millions of AI predictions every single day, dozens of patents filed now. So we're in a really, really, really good place. And you guys know this, right? It's kind of funny. When generative AI, ChatGPT, really hit the scene hard, one of the first things I did was I flew to New York City to spend time with AI CPA because I wanted to look into the whites of their eyes and see how afraid they were. There's these moments with technology like this where there's that fear about disruption. But the research that we've done with customers, with accounting firms, with professionals, is actually, there's a fair amount of optimism and enthusiasm. And actually, the more ambitious and progressive accounting teams are expecting to grow their teams because they feel they can take on so much more high-value work than they could without AI. So there's a lot of enthusiasm and optimism out there about AI, and I think it's really warranted. Skipping back a bit to how we do this, and one of the biggest thing we find when we talk to customers that is a barrier to adopting AI is they don't trust it. And there's the sort of the obvious fears about the ethics and the potential risks for bias. There's concerns and fears about data privacy. How are you going to use my data? Are you going to put my data in a model and somebody else is going to see my data when they ask it the wrong question? So it's really, really important to us that not only do we help our customers understand why they can have confidence that we can build all this AI, but also why you can trust it. And a big part of that answer is the Sage AI Factory. Now, this is not a product. I'm not making a product announcement. But I talked about this the last time somebody announced a product on social media. This is something in the background that we use to build AI. And if you remember those cycles that I talked about, it takes all of the work of training AI and puts it into one, I call it a factory, but one box. It's the secure box that implements all of our compliance and controls, that automates all the QA testing for our models, that detects when models drift. Model drift is when over time in the training of a model, it becomes less accurate versus the world that it's trying to predict. And we've got this ability to take these AI factories that build and train these models, and we can deploy them either to individual customers, where they can learn from your chart of accounts, your configuration, the way you run your business, or to the Sage network, where they run from the millions of customers that are connected and using these capabilities. And the result of that is pretty impressive. I'm going to skip through these two slides because I've talked about them a bit. But the point is, we've got the ability automatically to do AI that works for you in a secure and trusted way, but we also have a way to do it where all customers benefit from the activity of every customer. So continuing that thread on trusted AI, it is the number one barrier to adoption. I talked about the concern over ethics and the risks of bias, data privacy. Actually, the biggest concern is, will it do the job competently? Right? Are you willing to hand off the reconciliation of your cash accounts to technology, knowing that you're responsible for the result, right? You're accountable, whether you're using technology or not. And this has really stuck with me. I called a customer just at the start of the pandemic This is a small business in the UK. It was a mom and pop shop, literally. The husband ran the floor and sold paving stones. The wife did the bookkeeping in the back office. And they had put something in a survey that triggered me to call them. And I was talking to the wife, and somewhere along the lines, the conversation got to reconciliation. And I knew that she would benefit from our AI-powered reconciliation. And so I said to her, do you use it? And I couldn't really finish the question out of her mouth. She said, nope, I don't trust it. And it wasn't trust about ethics or data privacy. It was, this is so important to my business that if there's a mistake, it might mean that we don't make payroll, or it might mean that we don't have the cash to do our next round of purchases for our inventory. And so it didn't matter, right, whether it worked or not. She simply couldn't give up the accountability, the responsibility of that to technology. And so this is core to everything we do. So I'll take you through a few things around this. We call this Trusted AI. You'll see on our website, we've got a lot of information there, lots of videos for me, because for some reason marketing thinks I should be the spokesperson for Trusted AI. But the first part of it really is the partnership that we have with our customers. When you build traditional technology, of course you want to talk to customers to understand the requirements, and you want to sort of show them what you've built along the way to make sure it's meeting those requirements. There is no way to build AI without the participation of customers. There is zero way, because those data scientists can't design those models, they can't train those models without working with customers to get access to data, to getting them to verify that the decisions that the models are making match the decisions that they would make in those scenarios. And so having that trusted relationship with our customers is absolutely critical, not just to using the technology, but to working with us as we develop the technology. And there's a number of things that we do here that are all centered on this notion of trust. So the first of those, if you get back to my 3 circles, the circle for automation and the circle for assurance are the same size, right? We are equally invested in using AI and technology to automate as we are to using technology to assure. We think it's really, really important that we're strong and we're leading on this message that the more you automate, the more you need confidence in the technology and confidence in the results. The second is, as I talked about, our Sage AI Factory, right? We've invested over the last 5 years dozens of headcount, millions and millions of dollars of investment to build this secure factory for training the AI. We've prioritized the research. I told you that about half of our patents have been into generative AI. Most of those patents have been into detecting AI hallucinations. You guys, you've heard the term AI hallucination? When AI makes stuff up, literally that's what it means. So most of our research is going into the safe use of AI. We are doing research to use AI to solve problems, but really proportionally where the real invention is coming from, it's on the safe use of AI. And we're committed to being transparent. So you can go to our website, and I think I actually have there's no QR code. If you go to our website and go to the trust section, you'll see all of our principles, all of our commitments around building trusted AI, which we know is absolutely critical. The first decision that a company is going to make on whether or not to use AI is whether they trust the company behind the AI. And so we've got to be super, super clear about that. For me personally, when I try to give back, I'm focused on a more diverse set of leaders for the next generation in AI. We have a diversity problem. We really, really do. We don't have the right representation of racial background. We don't have enough women in tech. And that's a problem before AI. With AI, it is exacerbated. Because what we're doing with AI is we're training a machine to make a human-like decision. And if those trainers all look like me, then as good as I think I might be, I have biases, subconscious biases. I have experiences that I've not lived that others have. And so if we really want to make AI that's representative of the broad range of human thinking that we need to progress the technology, we have to fix the diversity problem in technology. So there's a couple things we're doing. The first is Teens and AI. This actually was spun out of a United Nations initiative, and it's an organization totally focused on generating excitement amongst teenage girls to join the field of AI in countries around the world, particularly countries that are a bit disadvantaged when it comes to access to technology and education. So they do hackathons all over the world, and I get to judge these hackathons, and it's an absolutely amazing experience. And if you look at the projects they're doing in these hackathons, it's good stuff, right? It's focused on education, it's focused on environmental awareness, right? It's focused on helping aging citizens, right? It's all good stuff. So we spend a lot of time with Teens and AI, really trying to develop the next generation of tech leaders. We absolutely want more women in the future to be tech leaders. The other area where we spend a lot of time, and I'm just really humble is probably the right word here to be involved with, is with Morehouse College in Atlanta. If you're not familiar, Morehouse College is one of the historically black colleges. It was founded somewhere in the 1860s. The entire enrollment of Morehouse College is black men. And their mission is to generate the next, to develop the next generation of leaders. And what we want to do is provide all the support that we can. So we've developed a curriculum for Morehouse for doing generative AI training. We've just launched a new course with Morehouse for entrepreneurialism. Every time I go on campus at Morehouse and meet these students, it's just a revelation to me how bright the future can be if we make the right investments. So we care about the whole realm of trust there. So when I talk to a room full of our partners, whether it's our marketplace partners like the ones that are here today, or the partners that sell our technology and implement it for our customers, when I talk about AI in the future, I talk about how much bigger their commercial opportunity is going to be. You're going to sell more technology, you're going to be more strategic in the way that you interact, right? Everything's going to move up the value chain. But the thing that's most important, and I think I grayed out those parts because I really wanted you to see the next part. The thing that really resonates is I believe that as technology progresses, the responsibility and the ambition that technology leaders take on has to also progress. And we talk about the evolution of technology and the value that we bring to people. If you go back to client server and mainframe, like those are record-keeping systems. As we progress, we've gone into more automation. We're getting into technology that digitizes workflows, that enables companies to completely change their business model. Where we really need to be now is technology that helps organizations to achieve their purpose, right? That's the way we need to be talking when we talk about the impact of technology. And it can get personal, right? It's not just, am I driving my mission forward? It's, do the people on your team have work-life balance? Are they excited to come to work every day because of the type of work that they have to do? So the last time I talked about this, I brought a gentleman on stage from one of my favorite nonprofits, but I've got a video of a gentleman named Michael Smith from Operation Hope. Let's play that now. This is really the personal side of it.
Tech and the AI power platforms are really bringing sexy back to accounting.
Operation Hope is the largest nonprofit in the U.S. that focuses on financial literacy and financial empowerment. There is a huge problem with financial literacy in the U.S.
Really being able to educate people on what those things are, how to benefit yourself with them, how to create a budget, how to stick to a budget, how to be smarter with your money.
Most Americans aren't educated in the world of finance. Just those simple things. What is a budget? How to follow a budget?
Understanding the way credit works, understanding what a credit score is, why it's important, how it affects every aspect of your life.
We raise an individual, the whole boat rises. We really think it helps the whole U.S. economy.
We were fortunate enough to be an early adopter for the AI platforms with JMT, the first one being AP automation.
We jumped on it as soon as we could. It's a very smooth transition. It was so simple.
Now I can just email a bill directly into JMT. It reads directly what's on the bill.
AI, it's not there to replace you, it's there to help you.
The whole process is just, it's quicker, it's easier, especially being on two different coasts of the US. The entire process is just sped up. I don't have to wait for a West Coast person to wake up. We also use the geo outlier detector. faster. The biggest benefit of that one is it just catches mistakes. It makes everybody look better. It makes data entry easier. It makes review easier. It's like having an assistant, a little personal assistant helping you make journal entries because it caught all those things in the beginning. It helps get time back.
We're able to drill down to a deeper level to be able to provide more reliable and accurate information to those who need it.
Helps our team do everything that they've been doing, just faster and smarter.
So I asked Michael to join me on stage a couple months ago, and I want to paint a picture for you. He's 6'9". I'm 5'8". No chairs, right? So he came on stage and gave me a hug like this. Right? And I started to talk to him about the impact on his life personally. And the story that he tells is that he's a single father with sole custody for 2 children. And because of all of the automation that they've put in place, he's able to free his weekends, right, to spend quality time with his kids, right? He's not as worried about being unavailable because there's big spikes in the month-end close or in some of the annual stuff. And it's really, really, it really hits home for me to see when the technology can really lead to that sort of personal outcome. A lot of the women in the audience picked up on the fact he was a single father. So I guess it helped that way too. All right, generative AI. How many people have played with ChatGPT or something like ChatGPT? So it's magical. It really is. I don't have a better word to describe it. And I know how it works, and it's still magical. When you see some of the things that it can do, it's just really mind-blowing. So part of my job as a CTO is to really bring some clarity into what this technology means, what we're going to do with it. So I'm going to spend the last few minutes with you talking about that. So we bucket the work we're going to do with generative AI like ChatGPT into 2 buckets. So the first is we want to engage everybody in the organization to succeed with accounting. Right? We don't want you to have to chase employees anymore to get them to approve things. We don't want your employees anymore to come to you asking budget questions. Right? Those are the sort of the simple examples there, but I'm going to show you in more detail what this means. And number 2, and this is the real magic. Today we use AI to automate simple tasks, right? To read data off of an invoice, to look at a transaction and make a determination about whether it needs a human review. What generative AI is able to do for us is enable us to now think about AI that can own a process end to end. And so I'm going to show you what we're building on that, but before I do it, I want to go back to the start of the presentation. I showed you some Latin. I asked you to trust me. I don't need you to trust me. I'm going to show you the conversation that I had with ChatGPT. So I took that Latin and put it into ChatGPT. Please translate the following Latin text. I'm not going to read it. ChatGPT's translation of it, for those of you in the back of the room, I'll read it for you. The Latin text you've provided translates to English as, ending the month is worse than the rack, but this is all we have until we acquire better technology. I may have made up the Latin. So the better technology is here. It's what we call Sage Copilot. So this is really the culmination of a lot of the work we've been doing over the last several years. And we're bundling this into a digital assistant that's designed just for finance teams and just to support employees in the business that need to participate in accounting and finance workflows. And so let me take you through what it's going to be like to use Sage Copilot. So imagine that your accounts payable clerk logs into Intact, and the first thing your clerk sees is a message from Copilot saying, hey, since the last time you logged in, I did some things. I'd like you to review them. So I think Sarah is our accounts payable clerk in this case. She's going to say, sure. She launches this conversation with Copilot. And Copilot, the first thing Copilot says is, hey, I processed 15 bills since the last time that you logged in, totaling $60,000. You can view the list if you want. So Sarah's going to be diligent, and she's going to actually review the list. My clicker's not work. There we go. All right, so Copilot will make sure that the work is explainable, right, that the human's still in control, so Sarah can review all the invoices that were processed and go and look at any of them if she wants to see the work that Copilot did. She's just going to approve it, but she's got high confidence working with Copilot that those 15 are just fine. But Copilot is also telling her that it needs some help. Well, first of all, it did some work for her. It reached out to 4 employees to nudge them, remind them to approve invoices, right? So it would have gone out through Teams or email to reach out to the employees to get them, hey, please take a look at this. It's waiting. It's stuck on you. But in this next case, Copilot is saying, I don't quite have the confidence in these transactions, and I want you to review them. Sorry, we seem to have skipped a part of this, which is nobody's fault but mine. It might come up later. So this is the next step where Copilot has actually created a bunch of payment requests and is asking, again, for your AP clerk to review the payment requests before they're actually initiated. So what I missed in there somehow is Copilot identifying some problems. There were 3 transactions that Copilot wasn't confident that it coded correctly or that it read the data correctly, so it's asking your AP clerk to go in and take a look and make changes. And there was one where the amount was out of range for that vendor. So there needs to be a conversation about, should we approve this? Is it potentially fraudulent? Is there a mistake on the invoice where they overbilled us? So Copilot can find those anomalies and flag a human to review them. So these are the payment requests. Oh, I just walked you through this. So this is how it's going to look. So now you can believe me when I say that it does this stuff. This is enabling Sarah to go look at a bill and to verify, in this case, the amount, right? The amount is too high for this vendor. So Sarah's actually going to ask Copilot to reach out to Bob in marketing, because Bob owns that vendor, and ask Bob to review it and make sure that everything's good there. Okay, so if you've been paying attention, you're probably thinking that I didn't show you the last bit, which is continuous insights, which is coming, but not until I show you this. So this is really about that conversation. So what is this? I'm sorry, guys. Somebody snuck in slides on me. Okay, wow. So Copilot can work with marketing too. So this is a conversation with marketing about the budget. So sorry guys, we're all learning together right now. Okay, got it. So this is Copilot asking a marketing lead to check on a purchase order and to tell accounting how much of that purchase order is going to be invoiced this month, so that accounting can go ahead and accrue the right amount. Copilot's making a recommendation and giving Sarah some information to help her make the right decision. But the real power here is that you're not having to reach out to the marketing team to get the answer. Copilot is reaching out to Teams where Sarah works or Slack where Sarah works, giving her the information and helping her to make that decision. Where'd the rest of my slides go? Forward, please. Anybody have a joke? What's the difference? How do you know when an accountant is an introvert? It looks at your shoes when it talks to you. How did I learn that ChatGPT was magical? I asked it a joke. The joke was, a skeleton goes into a bar and says to the bartender, "I'll have a beer and a mop." About half of you got that right away. Some of you are still trying to figure out why that's funny, which is okay because this affects everybody of all intelligence levels. Copilot fed back to me why exactly that was funny, which showed amazing steps of reason and understanding of the world. Copilot's response was, well, if the skeleton drank the beer, it would fall through its bones to the floor, and in a bar, you normally clean up a spill with a mop. Pretty amazing for AI to figure that out. Let's skip forward a few slides, guys. Okay, go back one. All right, so in this example, Copilot is going out to an employee who hasn't filed their timesheet. So we have AI that actually can automatically generate the timesheet. So there's no excuse here. AI has already filled out the timesheet. And what AI is doing here is actually saying, hey, you didn't actually book any time Friday afternoon. I looked into Sage HR, and I could see that you had filed for time off on Friday afternoon. Just want to verify that before you submit your timesheet. If that's correct, let's go ahead and get this thing submitted because accounting is waiting for you. So this is a conversation that's happening within Sage Intelligent Time, which uses AI to generate timesheets. Okay, where are we now? We're going to skip this one. Oh, no, this is a good one. We're not going to skip this. So in this example, we're talking about the Sage Network. So in the Sage Network, when we connect you with your vendors, we're able to now connect the workflow so that when you invoice a customer or a vendor invoices you, you've got now real-time view into how an invoice is progressing, right? So in this case, we've invoiced a customer through the Sage Network, and Copilot has said, hey, there's a problem here. This is a very large bill. The customer hasn't accepted it yet, and if they don't pay it on time, it's going to really impact your cash flow. Would you like me to reach out to that customer? And so Copilot here is drafting an email to the customer at the request of the accountant. And of course, the human can review this, and upon reviewing it, it gets sent off to the customer, and obviously the magical things happen. They pay early, they've got the cash, they can make the investment. All right, you think I forgot about continuous insight, but I didn't. This is the last piece, and this is really the big promise. This is the big payoff. If we can get you out of the business of doing all of this this drudgery, this repetitive work, if we can bring data real time, if we can add confidence to the data, what can we then do in terms of enabling you to make smarter, faster decisions? So one of the examples we're doing here is we're applying AI to accounts receivable. I know not all of you have accounts receivable. Some of you rely on donors and other ways of receiving revenue. But in this case, we're using AI to do cash flow forecasting, in part on our predictions about when these customers are going to pay. And this is great because somebody from your finance team can go in and look at this and update the cash flow forecast and make decisions based on that. But the real power is when you've got Copilot managing that behind the scenes. And so now imagine that Copilot is looking at that cash flow forecast continuously, and Copilot determines that actually your cash flow forecast just changed. You're going to have $200,000 more at the end of the month than you had predicted. The reason for that, it gives two reasons. In this case, their collections are coming in better than expected, and their customer renewals, they're on subscriptions, are renewing at a higher rate than they expected. And so the real power then is what happens when the CFO, who is notified through Teams, can interact in that conversation. So Copilot is going to take the CFO to Sage Intacct Planning, where she can start to model out what to do with that extra cash. So she's asking Copilot, what are some options? What can I do with this? And the first answer, the first option that Copilot comes back with is, hey, your marketing is pretty efficient. You could actually invest all of this into marketing programs, and you can grow revenue faster, and you can actually improve your margin. If you'd like, I can model that for you. So here's Copilot actually taking the CFO through the model, where it's going to show her that, in fact, if you do invest in this extra money into marketing, your expenses are going to go up, right? Because you're adding that extra expense to marketing. And your revenue might take a little bit of a dip in its growth because you're a bit distracted, but your margins over time are going to increase. So better revenue, better margins, all explained by Copilot. So this is it was a bit of a tortured demonstration for you. Apologize that I wasn't sure what sequence we were going in there. But I hope you kind of see what we're working on here. We're trying to get rid of all of the redundant, repetitive work, all the things you have to do that's a bit drudgery. Let's give AI the responsibility to do that. Let's have AI help you to gain confidence in the accuracy and the reliability of the data that you're making decisions on. give you confidence that you're complying not only with your company's policies, but the industry in which you operate. And then let's use technology on that foundation of trusted real-time data, help you to make smarter, faster decisions. And that's ultimately the promise that we're working on with Sage AI. And that's what I have for you. Thank you very much.